Hello again. Today we are changing the structure of these videos in that from now on and to make this a faster, a sort of a, if not, we're never going to end, a faster process. We are going to start the making each video sort of we're going to group the videos by tests, whether they're in and out of, meaning inpatient or outpatient. And we've already had a little bit of a talk about that because we talked about how to diagnose Pseudotumor Cerebri. I needed to have an MRI and a lumbar puncture, if you remember. We are also going to be discussing procedures in another video. I'm talking about more specifically surgical procedures, and then we'll have another with procedures that are more invasive, and in that, even though that it is considered sort of a test, but things like lumbar drains. That's a little bit of a longer test, and it is more of an inpatient, but it is a sort of that blend of not quite a surgery, but it is more invasive, longer stay in the hospital. And also I will dedicate another video to complications, at least complications that I have encountered. So very experiential. I still want to stay very experiential. Some that I have heard of, but again, I want to stay very experiential because what I want to devote here is my time with you on my personal experience. I'm not a doctor. I cannot speak to things medical besides what my experience is. That is what I can share with you. I hope you understand that, and I hope we do understand here that I can only share with you what is my experience. I cannot give you medical advice in any way, shape, or form. So today I want to focus on what was my first and third procedure, which was a left eye sheath fenestration. And the reason why they did them only on my left eye is because I was born with a congenital already decreased poor vision on my left eye. So they decided only to go on my left eye because they were, and they still are, very concerned. I have completely lost vision on my left eye, so that they're very concerned with preserving my vision on my right eye. This has been a huge concern through my entire medical condition because, as we know, that is the first issue with Pseudotumor cerebri, it's blindness. So the biggest issue with me is to preserve vision on my right eye, which has been threatened at times. Not dramatically, but it has been threatened. So the way it stands right now, my left eye is completely dark. In other words, if I were to cover my right eye, if I went to go like this, you would not exist. It is completely dark. I did have to accommodate this. So my first surgery after Diamox failed and other medications failed. So I was diagnosed in October of 91. In February of 1992, the decision was made that I was going to have a left eye sheath fenestration, and the proper name for this, and I have this written down, is a left medial orbitotomy with optic nerve sheath fenestration. And this was at Columbia, what was called at the time Columbia Presbyterian Hospital. Right now it's called the New York Presbyterian Hospital. It was, even though it can be an in and out procedure, I stayed overnight. This is just in case risk of an infection. Not severely painful at all, a little bit uncomfortable. My eye was covered when I went home. I returned for, to make sure that everything was fine. I believe after a week, they did a visual field at that time. And basically what they do is they go into the side of the eye that is closest to your nose. And I don't want to be too graphical, but basically they go into the nerve and cut a little slit in the middle of the nerve, in the optic nerve, to allow the fluid that is in your brain to come through. And the theory behind it, the medical theory, is that, in lame terms, is that the pressure, since there is such pressure in the brain, the pressure will push the fluid through and will keep the pushing the fluid through that cut, and will keep the cut open, or the slit open, as long as needed, and will cause some relief. In my case, and again I say this is my particular case, so please be aware of that, I had, and I do have, a lot of unknown tissue. They called it fatty tissue, or fattiness around my optic nerve. Hence that tissue blocked the slit or the cut very quickly, and hence it was basically useless. They did again try to do this surgery, but which is done, but is quite rare. They did do it again on, and I'm reading my notes, on 1994, and it was called a left lateral orbitotomy this time, I hope I'm pronouncing this correctly, with bone flat, left optic nerve sheath fenestration at the same hospital by the same by the same optic ophthalmologist or neuro-ophthalmologist surgeon. And what the bone flap means is that they went through the outside of the eye, and what they did was they actually took a piece of my bone out to be able to reach the optic nerve through that side, and then they actually tied the bone back together. So this piece of bone from here to here is actually numb on the side of my eye. It's tied together. I do have a very, very, very slight, you can see it. You can see where they tied, but it's very slight. He did an amazing, unbelievable job. He was almost like a plastic surgeon. At first I was quite upset because I thought, my face, what did you do to my face? And the ophthalmologist looked at me and he said, I spent the biggest amount of time making sure your face looked fine. Just wait until it heals. And he did actually. I thanked him. He did an unbelievable job. Talk about being vain through everything that we go through in life, right? You know, now I've learned my lesson. But that was basically the first group of surgery. I had another surgery in the middle, which we're going to talk about next, which was a VP shunt. Actually, excuse me, an LP shunt. So I just wanted to let you know again that other surgery was, I stayed overnight. Same issue. I had sort of a lingering issue, which was I had some internal stitching that has since bothered me. There was a stitch that got infected. Just because of the nature of the issue, but nothing, no big deal, no complications, except that the surgery really never worked because of that fatty tissue that I have. Nothing, just genetic. This is nothing that would or should affect somebody else, but it did not work for me. This is not a surgery that helps a great number of people. It really depends on the person. It really, on the scheme of Pseudotumor Cerebri, neurologists are back and forth. You really need to talk to your ophthalmologist, your neuro-ophthalmologist, see how they feel about it. I would say because it is pretty safe, especially if you have eyesight on both of your eyes. Again, I don't want to give you an opinion because I'm not a doctor. It definitely worth checking out. That's what I would say. Check all your options out. But that has been my experience. So this is it for the first group of surgery videos. I will be discussing other surgeries in future videos. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for listening, and I hope that my experience I will aid you in your journey. And I am very, very sorry that you have to be in this journey. Have a wonderful day.